We always said great things don't come from comfort zones. I think that if I were to explain Tommy to you guys in college, the first thing comes to mind, free spirit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I want kids now.
Crazy, huh? So the grass that we're standing on.
Exactly.
On this side.
What rapper can you find in a toolbox?
No MSR. Sorry, guys.
People. ASMR.
ASMR. So I said right?
No.
ASMR.
Okay, let's dive in.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Nguyen Nguyen Wednesday, where we upload an episode every single Wednesday. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to the podcast. It's so good to have you. And if you're new here, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you as well. And we're a podcast where we speak on about the things that we're going through week by week, the tensions that we're facing, the things that we're processing, how we're feeling. And we walk you guys through it as we navigate it ourselves. And we hope that this podcast can at least connect with one person, listening to this right now. And we hope that it's relevant to you as well. And we hope that can be encouraging to you and maybe help you take the next step in wherever you're at in your life. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Tommy Nguyen.
And I'm Sopha Nguyen. And I feel like the best way to get people connected to who you are and your story is by sharing your stories with them. And so that's exactly our heart behind It's a Win-Win podcast. And last week was quite the adventure for me. It was emotionally tough. I think mentally tough, physically even to some extent. And I just wanted to break that down with you guys. We did hint on it last week's podcast about how I would be doing some public speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know how much in detail we went. I can't exactly remember the details that we shared.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah, but updating you guys on my social media fast, it was so awesome. I definitely want to do more of it. And I'm just realizing that social media is part of my job, but it doesn't need to be my identity and all that I am, all that I do. And it was so cool. And did I miss out on some new things and trends? I don't really think so. Remember I thought about I'd be missing out on all these new songs and all the things. Honestly, I don't really think I missed a beat on TikTok or Instagram. I will say I did have messages, but nothing was a big deal. My friends sent me stuff. It wasn't the most important thing ever. I didn't miss out on anything.
Yeah, what would you say is a takeaway or something that you learned from taking a 1 week social media fast?
Yeah, I learned how much I depend on social media for entertainment. And when I was bored, I went to my Audible app instead of my Instagram app, instead of TikTok. I checked my email more than I probably would like to, because I felt like I was just wanting to be in the know. Like I talked about in last week's podcast, I just wanted to know what was going on. So I was on top of my emails for sure last week, and I am an hour and a half left. I have an hour and a half left of the audiobook I was reading about how everyone communicates, not everyone connects. And my goal was to get it done by the end of my fast, but I didn't get there. So
I did notice that you did listen to your Audible books a lot.
Audible.
What did I say? Audible?
Yeah.
Audible books a lot, because I heard it too. She would play it out loud on her phone, on her speaker.
Yeah.
And I would kind of listen with her, kind of not. But I did notice hearing it a lot more this week.
Yeah. See? So you're holding me accountable too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved listening to the audiobook, and I felt like it really helped me get into the right mindset of what I was about to do on Sunday, which was speak to people beyond announcement based or whatever.
Yeah, it was a longer talk, and
15 minutes, I think.
Yeah, more than just announcements. So do you want to tell our people who are listening right now, what you talked about, how you processed it at all, how did you prepare for it?
Yeah.
And overall, did you think it was easy? Was it challenging? So let's talk through that right now.
Yeah, I feel like we like to take you guys through our life, and this is something that was really big that has happened in our life that's very out of the ordinary. And so for those who maybe didn't tune into last week's podcast, I was asked to share at church on stage my story and relate it to what book in the Bible that we are in right now. Mm-hmm. So just some context to what I'm talking about.
And shout out to Eden Church.
Yeah.
That's the church that we go to. So if you guys are interested, check out Eden Church, or on social media, Eden the Church. Shameless plug.
Yeah, we can probably link my talk in the description below. So if you guys want to watch it, that would be awesome, and let me know what you guys think. So basically, I got asked to speak at Eden and to basically give a message, and I felt extremely uncomfortable with the idea when it was presented. I was like, "Well, I'm not a pastor. I don't want to be a pastor. I'm not claiming to be a pastor. I don't know if I really want to do this." But Daniel, our pastor at Eden, was like, I think female representation is important. It's important to him. And he knows that I've been doing this church online stuff, communicating on camera a lot. And he just saw an opportunity and asked me if I wanted to do this. And I basically leaned in and I said, sure, why not? And we do talk about getting out of your comfort zone a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Even at the beginning, before this podcast, you hear like kind of our intro, right? And one of the things that we talk about is stepping out of your comfort zone. Great things don't come from comfort zones. And so what that means is like when we take a step out of our comfort zone, it's doing something in our life, in us really. And so she took a step out of her comfort zone and, made the decision to step on this to stage and share her story.
Yeah, so I didn't only share my story, but I had to relate it back to what they were preaching on, like
In the scripture,
the scripture,
right?
yeah, in the Bible. So it wasn't just me telling my story. I had to relate it back to what the chapter like that they were on. So it had unique challenges. And again, I'm not a pastor. So,
and you would say this is like the first time you did that, right?
Yeah, this is the first time ever. And it changed probably like 4 or 5 times in the process, which my own mind, I started getting confused with my own story. And this is just me being honest. This is this has nothing to do with anyone else but myself and my own preparation. And so I started confusing my own story because my mind started getting confused. That's the reality of the process.
Yeah.
Like people saw something on Sunday that seemed polished, but it was almost a whole month of preparation, which is wild.
Yeah. Like most people, you just see the end result, but you don't see all the preparation that goes beforehand and all the rehearsing and the practicing and just making sure you really nail it down and really have it internalized before you deliver the message.
Yeah, internalizing it and speaking from a place where it comes from the heart and not trying to remember words or what my next point was. Lots and lots of rehearsal, lots and lots of preparation.
Yeah, it was really good, guys. I would highly encourage you guys who are listening or watching right now to check out that message. It'll be in the link below on the Eden Church channel.
Yeah, I felt like it was challenging for me. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone in so many ways. I had to read the book of Esther, a book that I haven't studied, right? And like had to learn it. And I like started it the first week of May, my study of one chapter. In one book. So one book and then one chapter in that book.
And it's a pretty short chapter.
Yeah. I mean, the book is short. It's only 10 chapters long. But I still dedicated a whole month to literally a month, like May 1st or whenever, maybe even before May 1st to the day, May 30th. And so I would say it was a long process. It took up a lot of my mental capacity, which is why I talked about kind of being mentally a little bit tired and probably why I had to take a fast because it's a new thing on my plate that I just did not have mental capacity for.
Yeah.
And then I basically did the best I could, right? And basically was like, I'm going to only give the best that I can. And I came in with the mindset that I don't need to be perfect. No one's expecting me to be a pastor. And I thought like afterwards doing it, I felt relieved because people were like, are you excited to give a message? I'm like, no, I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah, how would you describe that? Like when right before you're gonna give your message, how were you feeling?
Yeah, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, are you like so excited?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like I'm in major pressure mode. I'm like, the pressure is on. I felt immense amount of pressure because this is my first time doing it. I have people watching that have never been to church before from my family and people watching from all different places.
Yeah.
I made this mass invite, which I kind of put the pressure on myself, but I feel like with pressure, you perform better. And I felt scared, but I felt prepared to take on what was in front of me. And I felt like I can only prepare the best that I can. And however it happens, it happens. So I felt exhausted, but a good exhaustion. I don't know. I went to bed every night not feeling consumed by TikToks and like Instagram and whatever. I'm having John Maxwell like speak into my life about how to connect with people. And he talked a lot about public speaking. I didn't really know that book was going to talk about that, but he did. He's like, this is how you're going to connect with your audience. Everything he did in the book, I did on stage.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy to think about, like the book you're reading, right? Really no expectation of it being about public speaking, but
No.
more so about connecting, right?
Yeah.
What was the title called?
Everyone communicates, not everyone connects.
Yeah. So it was more about communication, but then
Yeah.
he brought in the public speaking part. So like kind of everything landed in a
Perfect
way to
time
help
for
you
me.
prepare for your speaking. And you've done presentations, you've done business presentations, we both have.
Even
And
at Purdue, like social media presentations.
yeah,
stuff
exactly.
Like that.
So speaking, like public speaking for you is not challenging. It's something that you're, I would say, more comfortable with than most people. For most people like me who feel very nervous, or when it comes to public speaking, it can become very challenging. But for you, it wasn't that, but more so like delivering on the content, because
Yes.
what we're used to is presenting, right? We have slides, we're presenting a business, or we're presenting a proposal to clients,
Like here are the
prospects.
metrics. These are the little,
Yep. And this I think was different maybe, and this is why it was so much more challenging, was because it was more of a talk, almost like I was gonna say TEDx talk, but
Someone
TEDx
said that after.
a TEDx talk is more like a presentation in a way as well.
It is. They still have slides. Like
They
they
just
go
have
through
slides
stuff.
and stuff, so it's a little bit different, but it is more of a talk.
But I had 0 slides. I mean,
Yeah.
I just had my
Like
script
you're speaking to an audience and telling them a story or multiple stories, and
and connecting with them. And my goal was like, I wanted them in the audience to feel like I am so thankful that they are here listening, and made it more about them versus me. That was my whole thing the entire time, because the last thing I wanted was like, oh, look at my awesome life, and like look at how all these great things came. And it's like, no. That's so I knew in my heart I did not want that, because it's just not accurate. Like people look at us and like, wow, you guys do so much, like you guys are so put together, and it's like, no,
yeah, I
we're
mean,
not.
what's also interesting is like you guys are getting kind of behind the scenes of Sopha's thought process and how she's
Yes.
feeling before all of this. Like I mentioned earlier, people see the polished result, right? But they don't see all the
They
prep
saw the
work
month of prep,
behind it. They don't see the emotional like
the
agony
struggle.
behind it, and
Yeah.
the challenges and the struggles.
Yeah, and I haven't really talked to a lot of people about this, so all you on the podcast are just getting this very honest preparation and how I was feeling.
Yeah.
No, not even Tommy. I mean, he was barely honestly in the process of any of this. It was me and my words.
Yep.
Like it's just weird because him and I do everything together. But then I had my friend Billy, who like was really speaking into this a couple times and just walking me through it. I'm like, is this bad or is it good? Because he does so much public speaking. He's one of the best speakers that I know. And so I'm like, can you just tell me if this is absolutely awful, or if I'm on the right track? Because I know he wouldn't lie to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like it was emotional, just mentally doing my best to communicate my story, and I didn't want it to be about me. And so with my audience, I tried to connect with them. I tried to tell them like the deep, dark, lonely moments that I felt in living in California, into how I got here today, 5 years later. And so when you guys hear the story, you can kind of understand more context to what I'm talking about. But I was sharing some really vulnerable things up there in front of people who I don't even know.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot. I think that's why it was emotionally a lot, because I was sharing a lot about my life and the struggles that I've been through, and then the very good things that have happened. So I was kind of taking them on an emotional roller coaster a little bit.
Yeah, I would say definitely an emotional roller coaster. I think there was definitely times where he made everyone like cry, and then other times he made a lot of people laugh.
Yeah, we laughed, we cried, and we celebrated all in like an hour. And after it happened, I felt genuinely just so relieved. And I felt proud of myself. And I feel like, I don't know if it's our society, I could be wrong with this, but I personally don't see a lot of people in my life wanting to celebrate the accomplishments in their life. Like I feel like it's over. People are like, oh yeah, I got a raise, or I got a job, or whatever. I got my 10-year anniversary at work, and they don't want to celebrate that.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people may feel they are bragging or boasting,
Yes.
right?
And I did feel that when I was preparing for my message. I'm like, I feel so gross being like, yeah, and like I found community in San Jose and like they ended up being my church family and my, clients and whatever. Like I built my business and it's still in running, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I really don't like bragging. But afterwards, what I was proud of was being able to say I'm proud of myself. Like I didn't need people's praises, right? I wasn't looking for that. I didn't care. Ultimately, I wanted people to feel like they could connect to my story because it was real and it was raw and it was honest. And I was able to achieve that. And I'm so thankful. And because of that, because people felt some sort of way, had a takeaway, I felt proud of myself in that. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so proud of you for public speaking or something. Like,
Yeah. I think like what you just shared, it's more so like your heart behind it all.
Yeah.
Like your big why. Like why are you doing this in the first place,
Yeah,
right?
like I want, like overall, my message was about how where you are right now in your life, you're there for a purpose and for a reason greater than you can see now, right? Because that's my story in San Jose. And people were messaging me after, like, I don't know what my purpose is here in fill in the blank, but your message got me thinking, got my wheels turning. That's all I could have asked for, right? Is for them to have a practical thing that they could go back home and be like, what am I here for in this world and in
Yeah,
this life?
to help people reflect and encourage them to reflect and empower them to step into things that may feel uncomfortable, right? Because this is exactly what you did.
Yeah.
We talk about stepping out of it, and this is you sharing your story about how you did that recently, this past week, and then now you guys are getting a behind the scenes on what that feels like. Stepping out of your comfort zone is not easy. It's not pretty. It's a little ugly,
Yeah, I'm pretty
right?
sure I cried in it. Maybe, I don't know. I got emotional in writing my
It's
story.
stressful.
It's so stressful,
Yeah.
man. Like, I just don't want anyone to think that, oh, Sophie and Tommy talk about stepping out of their comfort zones, like, oh, or whatever. Like, it's gonna be all fun and easy. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
it's
it's
hard.
hard. It's not easy for sure. I mean, we've done it so much. Like just for example, moving out to California with no family, knowing zero people, meeting people for the first time. That's uncomfortable. It's not easy to step out and try to connect with people that you don't even know. You don't know how they're going to respond, and you don't want to feel that feeling of rejection. Trying to meet people and connect with people,
Yeah.
and it's hard.
Yep. So overall, how I felt, I'm just really proud of myself, and I'm relieved it's over. And I just hope that it can impact someone's life in a better way, right? In a good way, I mean. And it's kind of the heart of this podcast too. So I will say I felt like I had some practice
Yeah.
through our podcast, but this was like real raw. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like I was crying in front of like 100 people. Like that's
Oh yeah,
not fun.
over 100 because people are watching online as well.
Yeah, and outside. And I don't know if you guys have ever cried in front of a lot of people, but it is like very embarrassing.
Yeah, I can attest to that because I've done it and it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And when all eyes are on me and I'm standing there alone, I have nothing else but me and my microphone. Can you guys just imagine that with me? Like all these people looking at you crying. And I wasn't like sobbing. Like somehow I was able to get it together. But I was very emotional. And I still had like 5 to 10 minutes of my script left. I have no idea how long.
Yeah, the tear jerking started early,
Yeah.
earlier than expected, huh?
I didn't want to cry.
Yeah,
Like I told Daniel, I'm like, I'm not going to cry. Even I rehearsed it, you guys, countless times. I don't even know how long I rehearsed it. And I still did.
Yeah.
It's because it's that raw and that real that people who didn't know me started crying with me,
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, if my story can help one person find purpose in where they are in a place that they don't want to be or don't understand why they're there, I consider that a win.
Yeah, and kind of backtracking to stepping out of your comfort zone, right? What would you say you learned from that, right? Because we talk about great things don't come from comfort zones. So when you do take a step into maybe into an opportunity that makes you feel nervous, makes you feel scared, makes you feel uncomfortable, what would you say you learned from this whole experience?
I mean, ultimately, I think, like we said, the only way you can grow is when you get out of your comfort zone. And I found so many ways to be like, can I just do this? It's so much easier, you know? But the way it all turned out, I'm just so thankful for. So, I mean, ultimately, I feel like you just never know how getting out of your comfort zone will change someone's life. And so just to really lean in, I think is like my biggest thing.
It's really good. And
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
It was a big deal for sure. Should definitely be proud of yourself. And I would say, you know, you talked about pressure. I think pressure produces diamonds,
Yeah.
right? Pressure produces growth. It produces character. And when you are put under pressure, it does something to somebody. It shows their true character, or helps maybe develop their character and who they really are, right?
Yeah. And, you know, people came up to me after and they were just so encouraging and they're like, you were meant to do this. And I just had no expectation of that type of feedback. Like, I don't know. I don't know really what I was expecting after this other than like, I hope I can impact someone's life.
Yeah.
But the praise after, I didn't even know how to take it. It was so interesting because I talk about how important it is to celebrate the small things in your life and the wins in your life. And it's like people are giving me compliments and I'm just so thankful. But I get the tension of how it can be uncomfortable too. But I'm like, no, I mean, there's people coming up to me with tears in their eyes. And I'm like, I didn't think anyone was crying when I was up there. I can't really hear anything up there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just
Yeah,
so
I mean,
weird.
that's another interesting thing as well, is like, you know, for just like, and I think human nature, just natural human nature, maybe it's more of the area, I don't know. But what we observed is people don't want to like come off as bragging, but then also on the other hand is like receiving compliments is also weird for people, right? No, I'm not saying everybody.
Unless your
'Cause I
love
love
language is
compliments.
like words of affirmation, maybe,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
true.
like so like
And then
you
that could
could.
be very fulfilling for you.
So I think what I learned is how to take compliments better. I'm not used to compliments like that, especially like a lot of people all at once coming immediately after you. Did not expect that. I mean, again, I didn't want it to be all about me, you know?
Yeah.
So it was weird, but I'm so glad the attention got diverted to something else.
Yeah. So just being able to like receive compliments in a way that doesn't feel weird,
Yeah.
which I think it's gonna be different for everybody, but just, you know,
I mean,
receiving them well.
I'm so thankful for the
Yeah.
compliments. You know, I'm so thankful for the encouragement because I'm that way with people.
Yeah.
Like when Gina gets done playing the violin, I'm like, dude, you did so good. And she's like, I don't even know how to take it, you know? And I'm like, now I get you, Gina. If you're listening to today's podcast, I get you. Because
Yeah.
it's different. Like people can say, hey, great job on announcements. But it was like a 2-second deal. Like it was like a
Yeah.
2-minute, like, hey, come hang out. There's barbecue after.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, and I think also that just shows that you just have a great community surrounding you.
I'm so thankful. And I feel like your community, who you surround yourself with, makes all of the difference. And I'm like,
Yes.
after today, after you guys listen to this podcast, like analyze who is in your life. Who are you surrounding yourself with?
Yeah,
Are they the
preach
ones
it.
raising you up? Are they the ones giving you that like, hey, I'm proud of you? Like Tommy doesn't say that often to me.
Yeah,
Like
I
this is
don't.
kind of the first time he said it to me. Like after Sunday.
One of the few times
Like you didn't say that after Sunday, I don't think.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I think you were overwhelmed with emotion that maybe
was
you
a
didn't
lot.
hear, or maybe because you got it from so like a lot of other people that
Maybe it was.
just
You
kinda
gave me
got
a hug
mixed in.
after I got done.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you did say that. Sorry, forgot. Yeah, it was just a lot. So, yeah, that's kind of how this whole deal went, you guys. And I hope that you guys feel encouraged to just lean in and step into like uncomfortable things that that are not even on your radar. I did not ask for this. I should probably mention that too. I didn't ask.
Yeah, you were asked to step into it.
I was asked to step into it.
But
I
you
did
weren't
not.
seeking it.
I
Like,
did
you
not
weren't looking
seek
for it. Yeah.
Definitely not. It's not even something I dream about doing. Like public speaking it's gotten easier over the years. But if you guys met me when I was in college, I was an anxious mess. I hated doing public speaking,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like my entrepreneurship stuff.
Yeah. I think it's really good. I think that's really good. And I think just the patterns I've seen in your life, you have really stepped into things, even if they make you uncomfortable, nervous, or, you know, whatever it is,
Yeah.
like you will step into it. And I think that shows a lot about who you are.
Yeah. And I think I don't want you guys to feel like you have to step in every single opportunity because I definitely say no to things.
Yeah.
But when something like this, where it's so off of my radar, I'm like, why me? Why? But I just gave it a chance, and it impacted people.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think I've ever made anyone cry, and people who never cry cried.
Which is, yeah, when I saw that, it was crazy.
I
It's like
mean,
seeing, like for me growing up, like my parents, or my dad at least, and my mom, I rarely see them cry. And even when you see your parents cry and you have never seen that, it's weird, right?
it's so weird. Well, when you think you're standing on a stage all alone, all eyes on you, you're the only one crying. Inside of my mind, I was freaking out. Like in my mind, all I was saying was like, get it together, get yourself together. You still have a lot of your script to go through. I'm not trying to be like, and like,
Yeah.
like
That
that.
would
I
have been
was
kind of a disaster. Huh? Yeah.
I was terrified that would happen. And so people were like, you handled it really well. And I'm like, honestly, it's all God. I have zero other explanation because I don't know how I was able to keep it together and remember where it was in my script. If you guys have made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to hear all of your stories on how you guys have leaned in and said yes to like uncomfortable, random opportunities. It could literally be like, I don't know, trying new food. Like it doesn't need to be this whole like big deal of like preparing a message for a month and going on stage. Like
Yeah.
you just never know what could happen when you say yes to something that is not on your radar.
Yeah.
Like Tommy saying yes to going to a career fair that he was random at Purdue, didn't really expect anything of it, and then got a job offer to what led us here in California today. Like he just said yes to something that was not on his radar, right? Like you're like, I already got a job, I'm good, I don't need to like do this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I already had like a job lined up. Didn't need to go to the career fair, but
Yeah.
decided to go anyways. And that one small decision can make long-lasting impact in your life.
And I just want to encourage you with that. If you take one thing away from today's podcast, it's like, what is on your radar or not on your radar, and something gets presented to you? What would happen if you just said yes? And it's just crazy. It's like saying yes to a podcast and like impacting people that I'm just forever grateful for. Through our experiences and being vulnerable, we're able to help people through very hard situations in their life. And so whatever you're presented this week or in the future, what would it look like for you to say yes? And I'm not saying to say yes to everything, because boundaries are important. Saying no is okay. Saying no is fantastic. But if you guys want to comment below any times that you guys have said yes, is it moving across the country? I don't know. Whatever. Saying yes to having a baby. I don't know. Saying yes to getting married. Like, we want to know. We want to hear. And so comment below, or you can message us on Instagram. Or if you see us in person, let us know. And make sure you guys subscribe to It's a Win-Win, because it does make a difference. Give a thumbs up on this video. And if you guys are listening on podcast, don't forget to subscribe and rate. So that's it for me.
Yeah, that's going to wrap us up. And I think that was a great thought, saying yes. And maybe just to dial it in just a little bit more is, what's one thing you're going to say yes to this week? Let us know down in the comments. Or maybe it's a big long-term decision. Yeah. We don't know. Share as much as you want. All right. Thanks, Sopha, for wrapping us up. And like we said earlier, great things don't come from comfort zones. And when you step out of your comfort zone, that produces a greater purpose in your life. So come back next week, where we're going to touch more on and elaborate and just go beyond the surface of purpose and how we, from our perspective, see purpose in our lives and what that really means to us, and then why we love it so much, right? It's like your calling, and it's something that I think we're both passionate about.
Oh, so passionate about. When we figured out what our calling in life was and what our purpose is here on this earth, it has changed the game. Like, once we figured it out, I just feel relief.
And this is what we think it is right now. It could change, maybe 10 years from now, and maybe your purpose does evolve over time. So it's not just this one thing, and that's the end all be all,
Preach. I can't wait to dive into this next week. And so make sure you guys come back next week for It's Win-Win Wednesday, because we are going to dive in on purpose, on calling, on like work, life, all that. Because, man, it is something that we've learned recently that it's too good to not share with all of you.
Yep. It's a Win-Win Wednesday, and we'll see you guys next week. My name is Tommy Nguyen.
And I'm Sopha. Bye.
Peace out.